In virtually all situations where bad decisions are made, people lack some key pieces of information that would have helped them make better decisions. Haven't we all had that experience where we wished we could travel back in time and speak to our younger selves and counsel them, introducing new information that would help them avoid certain traps and pitfalls in life? In today's video, I would like to share something that has happened here in the state of Florida that I believe is a mistake, and it's a result of a lack of good information. I'm sure many of you are aware, Governor Ron DeSantis has signed a bill to stop the censorship of Floridians by big tech. Now, in theory, that's a good idea. However, in practice, this is going to cause more harm than good. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are already typing. I have been a great fan of the governor. I believe he has made a lot of great decisions. But in this particular situation, he hasn't made a good one. And I really believe it's because he doesn't understand what the cyber world is really like, in the sense that no one has a right to be on Facebook. Neither are you required to be on Twitter. There's no requirement and there's no right. It is a voluntary act that people choose. You have to go to Twitter to post, to set up an account. Same thing with all of these big tech companies. They didn't come to you and say, hey, sign up. It's something that people do voluntarily. And when they do such things voluntarily, they make certain agreements with that platform. The platforms in question are not based in the state of Florida. They're based in Silicon Valley in California. And before you're allowed to do anything on those platforms, you have to sign something called a EULA. And those platforms can put virtually anything they want into those EULAs. And you either check the box that says, I agree, or you're not on the platform. It's just that simple. And they can update the EULAs. They do all the time. YouTube has done it multiple times. That they will be the final arbiters of what is true and what is false, and what they want on their platforms and what they don't want on their platforms. It's just that simple. And creating a law that allows people in the state of Florida to sue based on their own choices is going to get knocked out of court. Because the first thing the judge is going to say is this to the plaintiff. Did you sign this EULA? Yes or no? Well, yes, I did. Okay, case dismissed. All that's going to happen is all of these platforms are going to roll out new EULAs that have a little clause in them that talk about SB 7072. Florida residents, you must waive your rights under Senate Bill 7072. Or you can't be on the platform. And that will be a choice. Why? Because you're not required by law to be on the platform, and neither do you have any constitutional guarantee of your right to be on the platform. Besides, how would this work with all of the fake profiles that people have and backup channels that people have? Some people troll and they have two profiles, one where they do all liberal stuff and the other where they do all conservative stuff, just to see what they can get away with. What about backup channels? I mean, based on what are you going to sue? And that's really the crux of it. It's not a criminal matter, it's a civil matter. It's a civil matter. All these platforms are going to do now is assess risk and reward. Is it required that Twitter allow Floridians onto their platforms? No. Or any other. Facebook? YouTube? Is it required that they do this? No. It's absolutely not. It's all voluntary. One of the things that is in the law is that they consider these platforms utilities. Well, guess what? In Florida, if you want to live in a house, you are required to be hooked up to the grid. This fact. It is illegal to be disconnected from the grid in Florida. Doesn't matter what kind of power systems you have, what kind of solar systems you have. You see, these are utilities. These are utilities you're required to have. You may not reside in a domicile in Florida of any kind that is not hooked up to the grid. State law. And there are people that have tried to completely power their homes with solar panels and still got to be hooked up to the grid. The solution, and I'm sure a lot of people are already typing, okay, Maki, if that law isn't the solution, what's the solution? It's real simple. Big tech, all these companies, are based in Silicon Valley in California. It's time for the government of Florida to sit down with the government of California and say, look, this is going on. Floridians don't feel like they should have to put up with it. If you continue to condone this type of activity, we realize that is simply a voluntary thing. But we will sanction the state of California unless you rein in your big tech companies. Now, they're global presences. Politics, especially just in one state, is such a tiny thing for a place like Facebook or Twitter or Google that they're just going to do risk reward on it. And they could say, if you're resident state of Florida, yeah, it's just too risky to have you on our platforms. And we'll just shut everybody off. Or we'll ban all political speech in that state, both left and right. Or we'll make, because of our new found risk in the state of Florida, you're going to have to pay to be on our platforms. You're going to have to subscribe to Twitter, subscribe to Facebook. You're going to have to be a paying member, a risk fee. And they can do all of those things. Why? Because they are a private platform that requires you to sign an end user license agreement to use it. And if you don't sign the EULA, you're not on the platform. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it is what it is. And I truly believe if someone had sat down with the governor and explained this to him and said, Governor, we understand the concept. Nobody likes censorship. Nobody likes shadow banning. Nobody likes this idea of deplatforming. But in reality, just opening up civil litigation options for the people of the state of Florida is going to end up punishing the people of the state of Florida. Because now these platforms are going to look at Floridians as more of a risk. And they're going to then make some type of financial sanction based on the risk-reward analysis, like any business would. Because they're a business. It's just the reality. This was not the right direction to go. This was not the right direction to go. If you don't feel welcome on Facebook, or you don't feel welcome on Twitter, or you don't feel welcome on a platform, why would you want government intervening to force you to be allowed to be there? That's literally how Democrats do things. They see things out in the world and, oh, things shouldn't be this way. Oh, and things shouldn't be that way. And it's our job to have government intervene to make life more fair. Life's not fair. In fact, now it's actually a feather in your cap if you get Facebook jail or if you get kicked off Twitter. But I think we kind of really know what this was about. And it was about the last presidency. And a reporter asked the governor if that's what this was really about. And he tried to push back a little bit. But in his pushback, he literally said it was about the last presidency. I mean, he gave a good example, but they're private platforms. They're not utilities. Why are they not utilities? Because you're not required to have them and you have no right to have them. No law mandates that you're on any platform. And there's no constitutional right to be on a platform. You can go to those platforms and they can set the rules. And I'll show it again. It's called a EULA, End User License Agreement. And the governor of Florida has no authority and no control over the EULAs that are created by private platforms in California. He can pressure the state of California to pressure those businesses to be more fair. But that's about it. That's really about it. If any of those platforms were based here in Florida, I'm sure there would be a lot more that could be done. But that's just not the reality. And I know this isn't a popular video with a lot of people because, and like I said, I've been a fan of the governor. He's made some really good decisions, but this is overreach, and it's based off of what I believe is just bad information or a lack of information. So, anyway, God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We will see you tonight on Twitch.